Sorry, some issues were there technically. Okay. Brian, you can start.
Hello everyone. Welcome to another interesting session along with Mr. Jitendra Solanki. And as most of you know, we are hosting this webinar along with Mr. Solanki from SNCC, which is Special Needs Integration Center. And as the motto of SNCC goes, we believe in empowering of the parent community. Because as we all know, all of us parents have got a lot of aspirations, a lot of questions, a lot of queries in our lives. So we try to bring out, more and more sessions so that we can connect the professionals along with the parents together and try to bridge in the gap. And as far as the speaker is concerned, Mr. Jitendra, he's a financial planning expert through his company, which is a private limited company called Planned Special Needs. He provides holistic financial planning to families with special needs, as well as the support system wherein the parents come or maybe the siblings come in for the education. He has also written a special book on financial planning for special needs families. So now we'll put on to Mr. Jitendra so he could give his insight on a very important topic in our lives as to how to basically choose a trustee, because some of our families, are it's like a nuclear families wherein we don't have much of a support system. And having said that, it becomes very difficult to choose as to who from the family or extended family or say a professional should come into the picture to become a trustee for a special child. So over to you, Mr. Jitendra, so that you can share your insight on this. And Mr. Jitendra would be explaining his point of view and his perspectives. And towards the end of the session, we are going to take up queries from the participants, and you could raise your hands for the same so that we can take maximum benefit out of Mr. Jitendra's insight on this topic. Welcome, Mr. Jitendra, on board.
Thank you, Brian. Yes, today is a very important topic, and largely it is the most difficult question for families, and that is how to identify trustees for your trust, because of private trust families create, but the biggest challenge is identifying trustees, and specifically because we have nuclear families today. So, whom should be trusted and who can be the trustees, what are the combinations and what are the qualities you look at. So that we're going to discuss today. So we look at who the trustee, who can be a trustee. We look at what are the qualities you should look at in a trustee. And also we look at a role of guardian versus trustee, because this is also an important consideration. Most of the families who wants to appoint a legal guardian also look at whether the two should be different person or it can be the same person. Now, who is a trustee? Now, trustee is an individual who is responsible for a property or an organization on behalf of some other individual or a third party. So, see, in general, we use the word trustee also when, as an individual, if I am responsible for somebody's estate, in an individual capacity. So, for example, I am a guardian, so I am also a trustee of an individual estate. So, trustee is an individual who will be responsible for any property or any organization he has been appointed for. He is supposed to make profitable decisions for the entity under its authorization. The trustee is supposed to make only decisions which are profitable for the entity under its authorization for which he is responsible for. Now, who can be a trustee? Whom you can appoint as a trustee in your private trust? Now, there is an Indian Trust Act which governs the private and public trust in India. Now, there is a section 10 which says, which lays down actually that any person capable of holding a property can be appointed as a trustee. So, any individual who is capable of holding a property, he can be appointed as a trustee. Even a minor also can be appointed as a trustee, but if the role of a trustee is passive in nature without any discretion, which means there are situations where a minor can also be appointed as a trustee specifically. Any corporation, a company, an individual, or an association of persons can be appointed as trustee in a private trust. So, if you look at this provision, there is no legal foundation as to who can be appointed as a trustee. So, any individual or any corporation also can be appointed as a trustee in your private trust. What are the number of trustees you can appoint? Minimum 2 trustees you require, and maximum, though there is not a number, maximum, there is no limit as such how many trustees you can appoint, but we generally feel that any number between 2 to 5 is a good provision for a special needs trust. So if you have trustees between 2 to 5 numbers, then it is a good number of trustees managing a private family trust. Now, one of the important questions, because quite a few families today who have family members, but they are as an NRI. So, can NRI come in trust as a trustee, or can they be appointed as a trustee? Now, there is a section 73 of Indian Trust Act. Now, Trust Act does not debar somebody who's abroad that they cannot become a trustee in Indian Trust Act. But there is a section specifically which lays down a provision which makes it difficult for NRIs to act as a trustee in quite a few situations. Now, the Act specifically says, this provision says that whenever any person appointed a trustee disclaims of any trustee, either original or dies or continuous period of 6 months absent from India, or leaves India purpose for the residing abroad, or is declared an insolvent, or desire to be discharged from the trust, then a new trustee should be appointed in place. So this provision has specifically said that if a trustee stays abroad for a continuous period of 6 months, he is absent from India, or he leaves India for the purpose of residing abroad, then the trustee should be replaced and new trustee should be appointed. It does not say that NRI cannot be trustee, but specifically lays down a provision that if trustee moves abroad, then he has to be replaced. But is it the only condition? I mean, the trustee does move abroad and you have to straight away replace it. See, the removal of trustee does not happen only on resident basis. So there has to be a bad administration, incapacity to administer, insolvent, using trust property for own benefit, or any other such reasons. There are many multiple reasons for removal of trustee. But specifically when you are talking about NRI as a trustee, now when the provision says that an NRI or an individual who is acting as a trustee once he moves abroad and or he stays for more than 6 months, then he should be replaced. Now the provision around this specifically is that the decision-making powers for such people in Indian private trust should not be there. Which means that in your private family trust, if you have 2 trustees, one is an NRI, one is a resident Indian, you will have to bring in more trustees so that the majority decision making holds with resident Indian trust. Or you will have to replace the trustee if you want to keep only 2 trustees, you will have to replace the NRI as a trustee. So these provisions makes it difficult for NRIs to continue under private trust in quite a few situations. Selecting a good trustee. How do you select a good trustee? What factors to be considered when choosing a trustee. So there are three important attributes when you are choosing a trustee. Now, it can be any family member, it can be any friend, can be anybody. So you just, when you go out and you want to identify that who should be a trustee, so what you should look at, because unless and until a trustee has certain qualities, he cannot qualify as to be a trustee in your private trust. So there are three major important attributes you look at. The first is the financial matters. Now that's the most important because the trust is going to manage the financial matters. So the trustee should know about the investment of money. How should money should be invested? Where it is to be invested? How to make the decision about investment of money? Generating adequate returns which can meet child income requirements. So a trustee, when he is making a decision in your trust, he should have certain knowledge that how these returns are going to be meet, because the purpose has to sustain, and to sustain it, the return has to be generated, adequate return. So when a financial matters has to be looked at, a trustee should be knowing how these adequate returns should be generated. Should be able to analyze what classes to avoid. In your private trust, you would have made a provision that the trust can invest into so and so asset classes. A trustee should be should have skills where he is able to analyze what classes or what asset classes he is to avoid.
Mr. Jitendra, sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
There is a slight echo in your voice, like from the participants. We have got a comment.
My voice is?
Yes.
It's not very clear, sir. I think आपका microphone है थोड़ा आप पास में थोड़ा करेंगे पकड़ लेंगे और थोड़ा सा करेंगे तो it would be clearer. Yeah.
One second.
और थोड़ा disturbance आ रहा है.
Okay, is it clear now?
Yes.
Okay, so I was talking on the first attribute, that is financial matters. The first is investment of money, where the money has to be invested, which asset classes it has to be invested, how the money has to be invested today, tomorrow, or following a certain strategy, generating adequate returns which can meet child income requirements. So how this returns, what returns should be generated, and whether the returns can meet the child income requirement, that trustee should be able to analyze. He should be able to analyze what asset classes to avoid. Whether equity should be considered, whether real estate should be considered, whether fixed income should be considered. Is it going to suit the trust requirement? So that a trustee should be able to analyze. Now, what happens if a trustee takes wrong decisions and expose the trust corpus to a higher risk? Then he or she may be liable to the trust for any shortfall created. As the trustee is a legal responsibility, and so when a trustee are making these decisions, they are responsible for any wrong decisions they have taken. And that's why when you are looking at any family member as a trustee, this factor should be looked at because they are going to be responsible. So they should know how these matters should be handled, how these financial matters, whatever I've spoken about, how these decisions should be made. Or even if we are not looking at that, they are not expert. Everybody can't be an expert. We should be able to hire the right kind of professional, but they should be aware to an extent where they should be able to analyze. The second important element is special child personal needs. Now, it's the most critical aspect because the beneficiary is your child, and your child has certain requirements which is different from the, or I would say it is beyond traditional requirements. And that's why knowing about your child personal need is an important element of identifying a trustee. Especially when you look at successor trustee. You might have an immediate family member as a trustee, but when you want to appoint successor trustees, you have more distant, maybe distant family members or relatives coming in as a trustee later on. These aspects become very critical. should be able to analyze when support would be required, what kind of a support your child would require in the future, what kind of a money would be required, and so they should be able to analyze. Should be willing to understand the child's personal needs. See, a trustee is not that he's going to look only financial matters. So he's not looked at understanding the child requirement. I think a trustee, whosoever you identify, should be willing to understand what are your child requirements. If known to family, he should be able to communicate with the child comfortably. That's a very important factor, because if you are identifying any known family members, so communicating with your child is an important element, because at certain point of time, when he's taking a decision along with other trustees, there would be multiple times he would have communicated with the child. So what is the comfortability with the child, that we should look at. If not, if he is not known, maybe he's going to come in a trustee, he doesn't understand about child requirement well, he should be able to seek guidance of legal guardian to understand. So in this attribute, what's most critical aspect is that a trustee, whomsoever you appoint, he's not an expert, he might not be knowing, but he should be willing to understand more about your child requirements. Though it's a financial matter, he's going to look at financial matters, but beneficiary is a special child, he should be willing to understand that. Have skills to manage relationship with all people, organization involved in child care. A trust is not in isolation. A trustee should have the skills where they can manage relationships. They will have to hold good relationship with the residential care, with the legal guardian, or any other individuals, organization involved in your child care. So that's the second attribute. The third attribute is trustworthy. The trustee has to be a trustworthy person. Should be dedicated. Now, if you appoint a family member as a trustee, you need a dedicated family member, because one, it's a legal responsibility. It's not a one-time exercise. If he is going to join as a trustee, he is going to involve in the trust affairs. He's going to make decisions. He's going to involve in meetings, discussions. So he should be dedicated towards the trust. Should have skills for trust administration. Trustees are supposed to have skills for trust administration. How trust is going to function, how to manage the trust activities. Trustees supposed to have these skills. I do not say every trustee should have skills. Probably if trustees have different skills, it becomes more easier for managing a trust affairs. But trustee needs to have a skill for trust administration. Or I always say that if they are not an expert, they should know who are the right advisors, who are the right people they can hire for this job. Should have long-term vision for child care, say 25-30 years of creating a provision when they won't be available. Now, this is an important factor. And why? Because as a trustee of your trust, who is going to manage the special child affairs, the trustee should have a very long-term vision. He should be able to visualize that how this trust is going to be managed when I am not there 30 years down the line. The child should still be there as beneficiary. How this corpus is going to sustain at that point of time. How these requirements are going to come up after 25-30 years. So a trustee should hold a long-term vision. So whomsoever, like as a parent, you are planning for your child and you are looking at a very long-term lifetime of your child. The trustee whomsoever you appoint should also look at that lifetime of your child. And that's why they should be able to create that vision for the child. Then only they will be able to create a provision which will hold good even when they won't be there. So the next family member you appoint should be able to create a provision that if he is not there, the trust will have the adequate amount of corpus to manage the child affairs. And they have to be a high integrity and accountability. So these are three important attributes to look at when you are appointing any individual, family member, friend, relative as a trustee in your private trust. Now comes the important point: guardian versus trustee. By law, guardian can manage the financial affairs also, specifically for the assets which are in the name of the child. But trustee also managing the financial affairs. But there is a good amount of difference between the role of a guardian and role of a trustee, which we should understand, because then only we will be able to decide whom to appoint as a legal guardian, whom to appoint as a trustee, or should we hold the responsibility of a trustee and guardian to the same individual. Now, guardian are the appointed individuals who can make decisions on behalf of someone incapacitated. So, guardians are basically individuals. Somebody is incapacitated, the legal guardians are appointed for that. Whereas trustees are the appointed individuals, corporate, can be association of persons who make decisions for someone beneficiary in the trust. So they won't take decisions for an individual, but they take decisions for individuals who are beneficiary in the trust. Guardians are appointed by parents, or they are appointed by court if parents fail to appoint a guardian. Trustees are generally appointed by the settlor or the person who is creating the trust, or existing trustees, they appoint the new trustees. Who can be the guardian? Individuals can be the guardian. Now, National Trust has a provision where NGOs registered with National Trust can be a legal guardian. Trustees, individuals, corporate, association of persons can become trustees. Largely, it's one individual who become a legal guardian. Though National Trust also have a provision where two people can be appointed, but largely it's one individual who become a legal guardian. Trustees can be multiple trustees. As I said, minimum 2, you can have 3, you can have 4, you can have 5, they can jointly become trustees. Guardian largely focused on health related or personal decisions. See, legal guardians are appointed, though you give a responsibility to legal guardian to manage the financial, but from their role, the guardians are more focused on health or personal affairs of your child, whereas trustees are focused on financial decisions of the child. That's a major difference between these two roles, and that's why I've been always vocal of this point that these two should be the different people. The guardian are related to minors. Guardian are appointed for minors. Guardian are appointed for adult over 18 who is incapacitated, mentally disabled, or unable to make financial decisions. Trustees, they are related to beneficiaries of trust who can be minors, who can be adult over 18, capable of making decisions, adult over 18 who are not capable of making decisions. So anybody who is a beneficiary of a private trust, the trustee would be related to them. Guardian can be a trustee. There is no legal foundation on that. Trustees, a trustee can be a guardian, but in an individual capacity, not related to as a trustee. So a trustee, the role of a trustee cannot be jointly taken as a legal guardian. So trustee, whomsoever is a trustee in your trust, in an individual capacity, he can be the legal guardian. But a legal guardian can be appointed as a trustee. Professional guardianship is not available. There is a legal foundation on that. Professional trusteeship is very well available. Now, this is a major difference between the guardian and trustee. Now, if you look at the role, the difference itself highlights that if viable, always appoint different people for guardian and for trustees. Guardian and trustees, can it be same preferred solution for families? A conflict of interest can arise if a same person is appointed as a guardian, as a trustee also. It can also happen a guardian might be well versed with your child's personal needs. He may not be capable enough to manage a very large estate. For example, a guardian, you appoint a family member as guardian, maybe a young individual, okay? He would be able to manage the personal affairs. But after your lifetime, if suppose the child receives an inheritance, okay, or he bequeaths a legacy of very high value, the legal guardian might not be capable enough to manage that very large estate, managing properties, managing movable assets, how that that corpus sustainability has to be decided, where it is to be invested, how the income has to be generated. Now, leaving this all these decisions to an individual might be a difficult situation, and conflict of interest sometime arise. If the same person is appointed as a trustee. Also, there can be a situation where if the guardian is appointed as a trustee, he knows more about the child affairs. Other trustees do not know about the child affairs. There can be difference of opinion which might come up. Okay. So because of that, because of all these reasons, we say that as viable, if viable, always identify different people for these two roles. So it's advisable that two different persons are appointed for fulfilling these two duties. Pointers: appoint a legal guardian for your child. If viable, keep guardian and trustee separate. And whom to appoint trustees? I think if you can have a mix of family members, friends, professionals, and trustees in your private trust, that would be the most ideal solution. It may not be, uh, uh, it also depends on the availability of family members. But yes, if you have combination of family members, friends, professionals, then that solution can be a viable solution for having good trustees for your private trust. Okay, I'm almost at the end. So since I'm representing Special Need Estate Planners Private Limited, so we offer estate planning solutions, SNEP ecosystem, will and trust, trusteeship and trust advisory services exclusively for special need trust. So we offer these services. Now, this is all about appointing, how to identify the trustees for your private trust.
We'd like to invite certain queries or something which our participants have as of now. Because most of us, I think, as I mentioned earlier, that we always have a confusion, Mr. Jitendra, that who do we appoint, because see, a family member or a close person to the special child, knows the in and out of the child, everything, what are the child needs, etc. But then at the same time, as per what you mentioned, probably he may not know the financial aspect. So it is so very important to bridge a gap in between both. And it's always better, that we have a holistic approach, because
Yes.
all together only we can come up with certain solutions.
Yes, you are right, Brian. Because see, in the presentation I have mentioned, the focus of these two roles is completely different. Okay, guardian, when you appoint a legal guardian for your child, you are appointing somebody to look after your child. Okay, yes, financial affairs are added to it, but that's an added responsibility. That's actually not the focus. Okay, the focus is that they are the caretaker of your child after your lifetime. So when you give an additional responsibility, now you need certain skills when you have to manage financial affairs, and you do not know what amount of legacy they will have to manage. Okay, so that capability might come, might not come. And one of the important aspect, and that's where I say that if viable, separate out the financial affairs, because that requires a different skills. Okay, that requires a different skill than just managing the personal affairs of the child. So you need to have
we have Mr. Ujjwal Shah who would like to ask a query of his.
Yeah.
Yes,
Hello?
Mr. Ujjwal.
Am I audible?
Yes, very much. Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a question. If we have created a trust and we have appointed legal guardian also, and now trust is handling the affairs of special needs child, and we are no more. Now, if it so happens that legal guardian passes away or legal guardian thinks that no, I am no more able to, take care of this responsibility, then what happens?
Okay. See, a trust cannot be appointed as a legal guardian. Okay, that's for sure. Now, trust, yes, to certain extent, trust, can be involved in the decision for the child. But the question or the issue will come up where somebody has to sign on behalf of child as a legal guardian. Okay. The example I gave you, so a trustee, when they are managing a trust for child affairs, yes, suppose they have to take a decision of of residential care, they would be able to take a decision, the trustees would be able to take a decision, might communicate with the residential care, they can take. But what happens, because they are not the legal guardians, so when wherever needed, to decide as a legal guardian for the child, trust won't be able to do it. Trust might be able to take a decision. Okay. The best example is, suppose one residential care, tomorrow if they find out that this residential care, the availability is not there, the support they require. So they, shift the child to another residential care. Now that decision they might be able to take because they are involved in the welfare of the child. But when it comes to uh, signing of papers as a legal guardian, then trust won't be able to do it. So a legal guardian would be required till the lifetime of the child to take a decision on his personal need, on his behalf. So if the legal guardian you appoint does not take a responsibility, some organization might come up tomorrow. Okay, like the National Trust have a provision where NGOs registered with National Trust can take the decision. So tomorrow the residential care might take a decision that okay, they can take the responsibility of the child. They will have to register with National Trust and they might be able to take a legal guardianship. But yes, this is an area where that legal guardian will always be required for the child.
I hope your query was answered, Mr. Ujwal. Now we have Mr. Deepak Mathur who has raised his hand. Can you please unmute yourself?
Yeah. See, I have a daughter. Now I just want to know if I appoint my son as a legal guardian, can he also be? I have put this question already there. If you have any doubt, you can ask. Can my can get that the designated guardian can join the team of trustees?
Yes, your son can join as a trustee. There is no legal foundation on that. Okay, your son can join as a trustee of your private trust also.
And he's a guardian and he joined the team of trustees. Is it okay?
Yes, he can do that. No issues.
Okay, thank you.
So we have a very senior parent with us, Mr. Anand Kumta. He has asked a query: can a foreign citizen or a close relative be a guardian or a trustee? Can you please give your insight, Jitendra?
Yes. So there is a legal foundation on appointing a legal guardian and trustee. As I said, NRI foreign citizens cannot continue as a trustee. If a private trust, they are the main decision makers. And as far as legal guardian is concerned, it has to be only resident Indian. We cannot have NRI foreign citizens as legal guardian of this child. It has specifically as a resident Indian, they can only become a legal guardian. Trustees also, as I said, mainly the resident Indian.
There is another query from Ms. Aditi Garg. What is the difference between a private trust and a national trust?
Okay. So private family trust we have discussed in the last presentation, so you can go to. It is basically a provision you are creating for managing your child financial affairs till his lifetime. So you are creating an entity which will manage your financial affairs till the child, even after your lifetime, for the lifetime of the child. So it's a separate provision you are doing. National Trust is a body created by the Indian government to oversee largely the legal guardianship process. So when you have to apply for a legal guardianship, you can apply through National Trust. They will assess the application and they will issue the legal guardianship certificate. So National Trust is a body set up specifically for the provision of legal guardianship. Trust is an entity you create for managing the financial affairs of the child.
Yes, Mr. Sumant Kale, can you unmute yourself?
हेलो
Yes, Miss Manjari.
हाँ मैं मंजरी काले फ्रॉम एमपी। मेरा बेटा 29 इयर्स का है। आफ्टर 18 हमने गार्जियनशिप ले लिया है फादर एंड मदर ने। अब वो 29 इयर्स का है, तो अब हमें उसके लिए क्या करना है? गार्जियनशिप तो हमने ले ली है, पर अब ट्रस्टी या जैसे क्या एडवाइस करते हैं आप?
ओके, तो आपने गार्डियनशिप ले लिया है, so now you can take a decision on child behalf.
Yes.
So let me first clear, specifically for creating a trust, you do not, the legal guardianship is not mandatory. Legal guardianship is mandatory to continue taking certain decisions on your child behalf. So opening a bank account, buying any policy, or taking any decisions where the legal guardianship proof will be required. So taking those decisions, you need a legal guardianship. Now what needs to be done? So you'll have to do planning for the child, both on financial and legal aspect. So if you want trust to be created, so you can create a trust. You two can be the initial trustees, and you can identify future trustees who can be trustee in your trust. So you can now do planning for your child and create provisions after your lifetime. Specifically, what will happen after your lifetime? Who is going to manage the child affairs? Where he is going to reside? So all that decision, all that planning you should do now.
Okay, thank you.
Well, Mr. Jitendra, there is a very practical and very interesting question asked by Ms. Manjula.
Yes.
As to, while appointing a guardian, who will accept to be a guardian without any personal gain or a profit?
Yes, that is my always question, that family members are appointed as a legal guardian specifically for the reason that you look at that cost is less. But my always advice is that whenever you are appointing a legal guardian, make a provision of compensation for his time. He might be your family member or relative. Make a compensation for his time, for his work involved. From where it is to be paid, whether your trust can pay it, or whether you make any provision in the estate, that you can decide. But create a provision for even paying to the legal guardian, right? Because he's going to give time, he's going to manage affairs, and yes, you are right. Nobody wants to do it for free when they have to make adjustment in their life. Because this aspect is many times is left by the family. They appoint a legal guardian but does not make a provision to pay him, any kind of remuneration. I would say always make a provision for that. He takes it, does not take it, let him decide, but create a provision so that tomorrow it does not happen, because you do not know how much time, he will have to, how much he will have to involve with your child affairs. So if you have to involve more, surely, at a certain stage, he will, feel that, why I'm taking this responsibility. The immediate family member which I have now, maybe, his child sibling or immediate family member, it might, but if you are appointing maybe from the cousin side or, maybe from some distant relatives, then create a provision for this.
It's very, very rightly said, because the first question comes, what is in it for me? Only then I will move forward,
Yes. See, let's also, Brian, let's also understand, so suppose if I am appointed as a legal guardian, I'll have to make adjustment in my life. Okay, I've got a family, I will have to make adjustment. I do not know what time I'll have to devote. Okay, क्या issues आएंगे कल को नहीं पता है. कुछ issues आ सकते हैं. I have to devote more time. If I am living in other city, I might have to travel. You know, so all these, there is a money angle involved, and it's better to you as a parent create that provision so that, you know, tomorrow situation does not arise where guardian is thinking, okay, where I want to spend this money.
Yeah, very rightly said. You know, we as parents should also understand that if you're appointing someone, yes, that person also has to contribute his time, his efforts, and his own family time, you know, when he's taking care of your own child after you. Well, Mr. Aditya, would you unmute yourself and ask a query?
Yeah, this is actually Ashok. Hello.
Yes, Mr. Ashok.
Yeah, it's regarding the. You said the trustees can be changed. This thing, can the guardian be changed post parents' death? And if the guardian is resigns or is not capable of taking care or something like that, and then in that case, what will be the procedure and who takes the call to appoint the guardian?
So if somebody is there, you know, who's taking a responsibility, he will have to approach a court or national trust to take the guardianship, like the way you have approached. Okay. But if there is a situation where the guardian is not able to take a responsibility and somebody else is not coming up in the front, then the matter will go to the court. Okay, because this is a legal provision, and if there is no one for the child, then largely the court decide who is going to be the next, you know, legal guardian for. They can even appoint. Court can take any decision. They can appoint an organization also. They can appoint any other individual also. So the situation stand is that if the legal guardian does not want to take the responsibility, you know, then the next individual who wants to take that responsibility, he will have to, you know, approach the court or, you know, maybe national trust and seek the legal guardianship for the child, and the legal guardianship would be changed. Okay, but if there is no one, then the matter might go to the court, and the court might have to decide, you know, who is going to be the legal guardian for the child. Now an organization can approach, you know, to take the legal guardianship. For example, if there is the residential care center, because they mostly they work, you know, as under an NGO umbrella, so they can, you know, take the legal guardianship, but the matter will go to the court. The court will decide.
In that case, there are two more questions. That can the parent, through the will, appoint two guardians in case one guardian becomes incapacitated or something, second guardian takes care of?
Yes, very well, very well. If parents can create an alternate provision, I think every parent should do it. Okay, not dependent on one legal guardian. If you can create an alternate, always have an alternate legal guardian provision.
As you said, if there is no one, then matter goes to the court. Who takes the matter to the court?
Anyone can take matter to the court, even an NGO, any family member, any friend, anyone can take a matter to the court.
Thank you.
I think this answer has covered Rashmiji's question also as to whether we can have more than one guardian, and you just now answered that. And there's another query, a very right query, like relevant query from Ms. Eunice. What happens if the legal guardian dies before the lifetime of the special child? Who will take care, or who will take the role of a guardian, or who is going to take the responsibility?
Okay. Now here comes a very interesting provision, that if you have a trust created, okay, though the legal guardian would still be required, somebody will have to take the responsibility for the personal affairs. Okay, and as I said, if an individual is ready to take the responsibility, they will have to approach the court, or maybe the national trust, and the national trust may decide. But largely in this situation, the situation is difficult when you have left the provision for the legal guardian. Suppose you haven't created a trust, only the legal guardian is managing the financial and the personal affairs. Now that legal guardian dies, then the continuity of managing the child affairs becomes really very difficult, because for the financial, that legal guardian was the only one who can decide. So how, and if the matter goes to the court, it can take some time before the court decides. But if you have a trust, as I said, a trust is for the welfare of the child. Within their rights, they can decide on the welfare of the child. Okay, and they can continue to managing the affairs. Yeah, by that time, somebody else, can come in and take the legal guardianship. As I said, organization can also take it. The National Trust has a provision where NGOs registered with NGO. The National Trust can also take up legal guardianship. But the major question which comes in your question is that if you have appointed only guardian as the full caretaker of your child for both financial and personal, then this is a very tricky situation, because then who will sign the bank account, who is going to fund the child care, who is going to fund those expenses, because it was only the legal guardian. But if you have both these roles separate and there is a trust created separately, the trust can still continue managing the child affairs.
There is another query further to the earlier query by Ms. Manjula. Is what like if we have a legal guardian and during the course of taking care of the child, like he withdraws and he says that no, I don't want to take care of the child anymore.
So
then what happens? Like,
he will have to give his resignation. He will have to report to the National Trust that he do not want to take up the legal guardianship. See, understand, legal guardian is a legal responsibility. If you take up that role, the resigning is also through a legal process. Okay, you cannot just say I am not going to take the responsibility and move away. No, you will have to devolve yourself from that responsibility. Okay, and inform the organization that you do not want to take up the responsibility anymore.
I think we have taken most of the questions from the chat box. Is there anyone else who would like to ask something? Yeah, Mr. Dr. Ashok, you want to ask something?
It's Aditya who has raised the hand.
Okay.
Yeah. Can I be a Lions Club of Charitable Trust? Can I be a Lions Club of Charitable Trust?
He's asking, can the Lions Club be the trustee?
No, a charitable trust cannot become a trustee in a private family trust. That is not allowed.
It's not allowed. Okay.
No, it's not allowed.
Yeah.
Okay, there's one more question from Yuni. Does this mean that the legal guardian and trust have to be in contact with each other? Communication about bank statement, other financial must be shared. Yes, very well. The legal guardian, trust, residential care, all parties involved in child care have to be in sync with each other. Then only the decision making is more efficient. You cannot look at these roles in isolation. The guardian in isolation, trust in isolation. No, all these parties have to be in sync with each other, and that's why this ecosystem has to be evolved, where all the information is shared with each other, which is especially the legal guardian and between the trust, the information is shared so that both are on the same page when the major decision making has to be taken. So yes, communication should be there. They should be involved with each other, the legal guardian and the trust. Now, communication about sharing about bank statement, I don't think a trust, trust is not responsible for sharing bank statement to the legal guardian unless and until as a family that legal guardian has been appointed as a protector and you have created a provision in the trust deed that the trustee have to share information with them. Otherwise, they are not supposed to share responsible. But yes, within themselves, they can decide what kind of an information they can share. But yes, you are very well right that they have to be in sync with each other. That's very, very critical for your child of course.
I think we have addressed most of the queries. And if there is anything else, you can always write to us at SNCC. And at the same time, we having a next webinar also on the 30th of July, which is the role of protector in the trust. That's right, Mr. Jindra?
Yes.
So we'll keep you all of you updated like on the timings, etc. And till then, do keep in touch, and that's all for the day.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much for joining in. Thank you, Mr. Jitendra.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, parents, for joining. We'll wrap up session here. Thank you. Bye bye and good night.
Thank you.
Good night. Yeah.